Jessica, I am genuinely curious how it is that you have viewed something in the Billy-Tony relationship that genuinely confounds me, because it seems to me when I watch them together that Billy always gravitates toward where Tony is. There is a lot of laughter.
Who doesn't?
It is loud. It is happy. It is Hispanic. But I also feel like Billy is doing everything he can to undercut Tony at every turn, and Tony is too much of a meathead.
Horse hockey.
Too much of a meathead to understand that Billy is wiser than he is and that Billy is manipulating him.
Mean.
Thank you.
People, Dan, have said that it's very brotherly, but I feel like it's very first cousinly in the way that, like, you might not like your first cousin, but, like, it doesn't really matter. You have to be friends with them because you see them all the time at family gatherings.
But he seems happier.
But you guys are really similar.
So they can kiss?
But he seems so happy, again, with this. We're going to objectify Tony in a second. But you can leer at him because we made Tony take his shirt off. This is the only, I know you are. This is the only device. You don't have any other move
and
other
you're
than
the creepy uncle.
To be clear, you can't kiss your cousins, though, like in case there's any questions there.
We have had to dress up this top five of Tony.
Or dress down.
Or dress it down because it needs to get more attention because Tony's trying to find a place on the show, and it's a crowded show. There are a lot of people talking into a lot of microphones, and I don't think Billy's rooting for Tony to succeed here. Do I have it wrong?
Yes.
I wasn't asking you.
Dan, it's hard to tell. And that's why I feel like they're like cousins. Because it doesn't really matter if they're rooting for each other or not. They're stuck with one another. As long as they're at the same family gathering of the Le Batard
Well, but
Show.
Billy seems, there's no disputing that Billy seems happier around him than anyone else, correct? Happier and louder.
Is it just because it's Tony or just because it's not Stugotz?
It's Tony
That's a
and
whole
it's
thing.
Tony and Lewis,
Thanks,
but it's
Billy.
also because I believe that in this particular,
Kiss and make up?
it is fairly amazing that Tony takes this beating and keeps coming back with his tail wagging happy when I'm like, man, that's borderline cruel what Billy just did to him, but with laughter behind it.
Wait a
Tony,
second. What am I doing to him that's so bad?
You're mean to him.
I don't think so.
You just called him a meathead, Dan.
Billy,
so-
you say to Tony when something yesterday on the show, you did it on the show. You do this all the time. Tony makes a joke and he goes P.S. For some reason, instead of saying porn star, he goes P.S. And the show stopped dead in its tracks, except I hear one stray Billy. Way to put that in there. One stray Billy.
Classic Billy.
Way to, you were mocking him. He was already feeling failure because he made the show stop dead in its tracks.
He doesn't feel failure. That's the good thing about Tony is that he doesn't learn. Like which sounds like an insult, but it's really a compliment in this industry. He doesn't learn, so he's just going to keep shooting. He's not going to. He's Swaggy P, where he throws up a 3 and turns around before the shot goes in and is celebrating. That's
Shooters
Tony.
shoot. Yeah,
exactly.
shooters keep shooting. But Billy, I am told now. Can you confirm this? I am told by a source that every day you walk in here, you see Tony. You ask him, "You still work here?"
Not exactly like that. There is schedule. Look, there's a schedule, and a lot of days Tony's not on the schedule. He's here anyway, so I say, what are you doing here?
He's trying.
It's a fair question,
Yeah,
I think.
He's trying to crack. He's working his ass off.
Working in the office. It's a novel concept.
Well, I mean, but you go out there, and then you hear him talking about friggin' Egyptians and lasers and satellites and things.
You're
You're like,
working
what?
on
Advantage Billy, actually.
And so I asked him to dress up his top 5, that it has to be better than it was last year. And so now we're getting beefcake. We're going to go out to the pool here at the lovely Elser Hotel, luxury, right across from the arena downtown Miami. It is a new and popular hotel, and we're right at the center of it. And it's got great amenities, crazy amenities. I haven't seen amenities like those. They got 2 stories of pool and weight room, and that's all you need in Miami. And Tony, last time he joined us, that's all you need for a hotel.
You're so right.
It is, but it's beautiful. It's indisputably beautiful. I could say that better. And Tony is out by the pool right now. I love that sound. Tony, are you ready? Can you hear us to do your top 5?
Oh, I've been listening to the entire segment. Funny enough, Billy's wiser than I am, smarter, a smart guy, but I'm the one in the pool at work, so you tell me.
Yeah.
See there? He's got you.
I
Touche.
did go up there in between to see, make sure everything was on the up and up with Tony and check in on him. And I was like, you have this figured out. Like, you're at work, but you're just hanging out in the pool for like an hour. Like, how is this happening? He's like, because that's what he says for everything.
Tony seems hurt by the way that he was introduced.
Really hard to tell.
Please.
He did not like
Dan,
that.
I can't be hurt. That's the thing
Told
about
you.
what Billy got right. You guys can talk You guys can be like, oh, he's a meathead. He does this. He does that. Why is he here? He's talking about lasers. We'll get to that in a second, by the way. Satellites, lasers, all that stuff.
He wrote
Very
down the
interesting.
website for me
I've
where
done
he
some
steals
research.
games, by the way.
Whoa, steals is not the right word. Anyways, all that to say, I'm here in the Miami sun. I got people around me. I'm watching Mad Dog Wednesdays on First Take. Very exciting.
That's a giant television out there. It's a wonderful television.
Yeah.
It's the best way to watch First Take. Can we go to your top 5 here in just a second as I tell the audience, Stugotz, because Tony is a Miami scammer, but Miami might actually, the University of Miami might actually be back. The U, I haven't said that in 20 years. The U might
I said
be
it 2 weeks ago.
back. I know, you say it every week,
Right.
and you have for 20 years, and it doesn't mean anything.
I'm rooting for Mike.
But the reason I'm willing to say it after 20 years for the first time is because the Miami Hurricanes, and this is a most Miami story because college football is changing a great deal. Cam McCormick, a tight end for the University of Miami, has petitioned the ACC for a 9th year
Come on.
of college eligibility, and that story has exploded on Hood Ratchet TV.
Oh, we're back.
Hood
The
Ratchet
Sam Hartman of tight ends.
Hood Ratchet TV is making the claim as its top
Good for
story
him.
that the Miami Hurricanes, and it's accurate, have a tight end who is petitioning the ACC for his 9th year of eligibility.
Which would set a record, by the way. Now, he is a transfer from Oregon. He was actually granted that 9th year by the Pac-12, which is going to be the Pac-2 next year, I think. So he needs to reapply and petition, which is what he's doing right now with the ACC, who has been stingy with this. Ask UNC, ask FSU. They've been mad stingy.
with 9th years of eligibility.
He spent 7 seasons at Oregon.
That's right.
Do you run out of classes at some point to take? Are you just like
Yes.
taking like
No.
a biology 101 for funsies in your 9th year? Like you got to take some
That
classes,
sounds
right?
great.
What are you doing?
If I could come back, I'd like to do it.
There's
that
always
way.
electives. As someone who graduated
So
with
true.
180 credits, there's always
9
electives
years
out there.
of college.
Partially
Tony,
a COVID thing, right?
I have been waiting, Tony, for 4 days for this. Finally, we are getting to Tony's top 5 football observations. Let's do it from the weekend. Give me the music.
Give me my theme music. All right, guys, Tony's Top 5, as usual, hated by most, but sponsored by all the haters, capitulators, and scammers everywhere. Very exciting weekend, week 2 of the NFL. We start in the OLI. Anthony Richardson is special,
Oh, already?
but so is Gardner Minshew.
Oh, again with Minshew.
He's a special quarterback, Dan. He's a guy that you always want to have on your team. Stu, back me up on that.
He is. No, he's a solid backup, reliable backup. Wish the Jets had him.
Number 5. The pool is great today, by the way. Just an observation.
That
all
was
these
the
are.
observation.
Was that number
Pool is
5?
great.
The pool is great today.
Wait,
Is it
was that
number
number
5?
five?
The pool is
Great.
great today.
No, that was editorialization.
Pick up the pace a little. We have 2 minutes
Number
left.
5, just an observation. But Puka Nacua is on pace for the greatest statistical season in NFL history.
Yeah, he's a player.
213 catches, 226.1 yards.
What was that?
I don't know what I did there.
Okay, what happened there? Was there a point? Was there a decimal
He's
point?
reading off of a phone. Did you get a text?
Did the meathead
I'm-
trip over a decimal?
Somebody texted me, and it went right over the number. 2261 yards.
I hate when that happens.
Nonetheless, an NFL record.
Stugotz.
Was that text from Billy?
Wait,
Yes, it was.
Billy is now texting
He's gonna
furiously.
pepper you.
Billy is texting you furiously.
Tony.
Go ahead, Tony. Be careful. He's trying to ruin the segment. Number 3.
No, number 4.
It's a fun.
I'm officially worried about the Bengals.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
They were 0-2 to start last year.
Yeah, but Burrow was healthy
I know, but
last
I'm
And
year.
how many
officially
Super
worried.
Bowls did they win last year?
Wow,
Good
that was,
question.
that was
Atta girl,
quick.
Jess.
Rings, trophies.
Number 3. Brock Purdy has never lost in the regular season. 10-1 in his career, and his only loss was when he hurt his elbow. You know what that makes him, Dan?
Undefeated. Perfect.
Mr. Relevant.
Jessica, why did
Get it?
your
'Cause he was
head
Mr.
just
Irrelevant?
fall into
We
your
got it.
hands? Yeah.
Do it in
Now
the
he's Mr.
playoffs,
Irrelevant?
Tony.
Number
Sounded like Billy texted him somewhere in that statement, but. I can move on.
He's been texting me nonstop. This has been terrible, by the
He
way.
is.
This is going well.
He is. Well, it's because it's Billy's distracting him. Billy is texting him nonstop.
Well, because here's the thing. He's lost kind of his bit. He's turning this into weekend observations now. This is Tony's top 5. Do what you do, not
No,
weekend
this has always been the
observations.
same bit. No.
And we're out of time.
Number 2.
Billy.
Number 2.
You got 30 seconds for 2 observations.
Billy ruined
Powering
it.
through. Yes, he was. Okay, guys, hold on. Here we go. Yes, he was 3 inches short. But the NFL should have let Cole Strange get that first down on the lateral and kept the game going.
Yes. Yes. Billy, stop texting.
Big men need
him.
love too.
Number 1. We got 15 seconds left.
Number
Billy, stop
1.
it.
15 seconds. I'm going to nail it. Here you go. I know the Falcons are 2-0. But Desmond Ridder can't stop seeing a shadow over his shoulder. That shadow in the form of a lizard. A green lizard. Heineke's there. He's waiting for him. Waiting for him to mess up so he can take this team to the next level.
Billy, how do you feel?
That was Tony's top 5 live from the pool.
It was 15 seconds long, and Billy successfully ruined it. Joining us from the regal surroundings of what may be an office or maybe a closet, Jake Tapper, professional journalist of the highest order.
Did someone close the door? Or?
That was yesterday that happened during our Adam McKay conversation. Jake Tapper's been waiting there for 24 hours in this closet and office to do this interview. And I want to talk to him about politics and being the chief Washington correspondent for CNN and just what's happened to CNN over the last few years and just fracturing of news in general. Because he's trying to do good work. He's trying to do honest and factual and objective work. And at these political times, Stugotz, this is a controversial liberal who, runs far left and the country falls apart around Nazis in Tallahassee as Jake Tapper holds on to the old style news and tries to do it the right way factually and loses at every turn, even though he's great at what he does because journalism has fallen into disrepair and decay. But before we get to that, Stugotz has not been able to shut up since he heard Jake Tapper was coming on because he wanted to give Jake Tapper a top 5 of greatest Philadelphia sports personalities of all time.
Well, I have a top 5 Philadelphia athletes of all time. I also have the Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia athletes.
All right.
So whichever one Jake wants.
Are those
I'm good
different?
to go with.
Are those Mount Rushmore? How would those be different?
Well, top 5 is 5. Mount Rushmore is 4.
But would they be different lists?
They would not be different lists. So I could do the top 5. I think the top 5 is the way to go.
Why did you just
That's
do that
wild.
if they're
I told
what
you
is-
I had a Mount Rushmore. I just had to add one now because I told you it
All
was a
right,
Mount
thank
Rushmore.
you for all
presented
your
it as
help.
the top
You've been
5.
great so far. You know what's amazing to me,
mean-
Jake? We'll get to you in a second.
I mean, it was a Mount Rushmore. I told you
Thank
beforehand.
Now, let me
I
explain
mean,
what's happening.
Jake was
here.
waiting for the door to be
just
closed.
hold on, big guy. Hold on.
That was yesterday.
Hold
yeah,
on.
so my
yeah.
bad.
This is what happens. I will, Jake. We'll get to you in a
It was
second.
glue with hands and feet. to the
Forgive
floor.
me.
Yeah.
You want to share with the audience everything that happened there because during the McKay interview yesterday, you
Yeah.
That was
and
off air.
Billy off air, talked about our audience funding Adam McKay and people gluing their feet to the floor in stadiums because you and Billy off air, not on air, were questioning his good and charitable work.
Right.
I want to explain to the audience, and forgive me, Jake, for this digression. That's great. Just some jackhammering, some drilling in the background. Perfect. I want to explain to the audience that what's happening here is the slow and steady deterioration of Stugotz, who by the end of the day can no longer do his job because he's talking too much, and he loses track of where he is, not unlike Greg Cody. Just gets lost and has no idea at the end of the day, or in this case, the middle of the day, because
noon.
Jake Tapper has been waiting here since yesterday. Stugotz is delirious, and so it's not merely that somehow that's the worst top 5 I've ever heard him do, where top 5 Mount Rushmore didn't realize that they'd be the same. His top 5 lists of quarterbacks the other day, he is that I'm still infuriated by because of how bad it was. What is the list you're giving Jake Tapper here of top 5 Philadelphia people? Please.
Okay, I'll give you the list. It's top 5 Philadelphia athletes of all time. You ready, Jay? Because you're a big Philadelphia sports fan. Number
I'm ready.
5.
I'm ready.
Number 5 is Bobby Clark.
Nice.
Okay, good.
Respectable.
Thank you. Number 4, Moses Malone.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3. Now, the reason Moses is on there, and you're not going to hear about Dr. J, is because Dr. J never won without Moses. You get what I'm saying?
Dr. J's not on the list.
No, he's not. Yeah,
Oh, my
Moses
God.
is.
Well,
Yeah.
why are you
Dr.
giving us-
J needed Moses because I know Jake's going to argue this after the fact.
But why
so I
are
just
you
wanna get
giving
to it
us
now.
the list before you've given us the top 3? You just told us that Dr. J's not in. How do you not know how to do a top 5 list? How is
mean,
that possible?
Chairman of the boards, Moses Malone, has to be on the list. That's his nickname, Dan. Did you know that? Chairman of the boards. You want to know why?
Shocker.
Yeah.
It's a shocker.
Yeah, a lot of boards. Number 3, you ready?
Yep.
Mike Golick.
Oh, dear God.
Mike Golick was a great defensive lineman, and then parlay that
Oh,
with the Eagles into
dear
the biggest
God.
radio show in America.
Dear God.
Jerome Brown was on the
Dear
same
God.
line.
So was Reggie White.
I am
Number 2, it's my list, Roy. Number
offended.
2,
I'm personally offended.
Nick Foles, Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Nick Foles.
Yep.
A dreadful list. One of his worst ever, and that's saying something.
Number 1, Jake, Rocky Balboa.
A fictional character. You don't have Mike Smith.
Let Jake respond.
He is
Michael Jack Schmidt. Have some respect.
You look embarrassed for him. You look.
I mean, you had me and then you lost me.
Right.
I was with you on Bobby Clark.
Right. We started off good.
I don't think there's anything I agreed with you after that.
Rocky, huh? Anyone else have a statue in that city? Or
I think the list actually honestly has to be, let's just do the real list. Bobby Clark.
Yep.
Hold on, Jake. Video. Can you please zoom in on the piece of spit that Stugotz has on his lip as he tries to share the broadcasting? No.
What happened?
Still there.
I didn't even hear it.
All right.
Jake, are you doing a top 5 or a Mount Rushmore? What are you doing?
I'll do top 5.
Get in
Okay,
there,
good.
video. Get in right there, video. There it is. Just truly disgusting.
Oh.
Doesn't even move when you lick it.
Oh, some chicken.
Go ahead, Jake. I'm
Bobby
sorry.
Clark, Dr. J, Mike Schmidt.
Michael Jack.
Am I crazy to say Jalen Hurts? Am I crazy to?
Oh my God. That's
Definitely not
Yes.
crazy.
offensive.
Definitely not
Nick
crazy.
Foles has a ring. I mean, Philly special.
I'll throw Nick Foles in there, but
Whoa!
Yes!
Whoa!
Yes!
Prisoner of the moment, Jalen Hurts with Mike Schmidt. What are you doing?
the season's starting. I'm trying to get excited.
How are you about your sports teams? Are you someone who yells at a television when the Eagles are losing
Yes.
the Super Bowl?
Yes, I am way too emotionally invested in any of it. It's very upsetting. I am very pleased to admit to announce that I have a son. He's about to turn 14, and just in the last year he got into football, and now I have somebody to watch football with. So it's been 14. It's been since I got married, watching football by myself.
All right.
So now I get to watch it with
but this is perfect because Chris Cody revealed to us yesterday that he's a annoying football fan. Jake Tapper's watching with his son. What are the things that he is shouting at the television, like holding, that's coming back, or free ball or whatever? What are the things that you're screaming at your television?
Free play.
Free play. Yes, I'm sorry. Free ball is a totally different thing to shout.
It's a fine.
That's a bull call. You gotta want it when there's messing up. There's that kind of
You
thing.
gotta want it.
Standard stuff.
Protect the rock.
You're telling Jason Kelsey he's gotta want it.
Yeah, you gotta want it. Yeah. No, it's usually not aimed at Kelsey. It's never aimed at Kelsey.
You gotta want it, man.
I'm going up for October 1st. I'm very excited. This is the insanity of having a teenage boy who loves football. He wanted for his birthday for me to take him up to Philly. I live in D.C. For me to take him up to Philly and go to an Eagles game and sit in the stands. And I'm like, that is my pleasure to give you that present. To spend too much money on that for you, entirely for you. I will do that.
What is the most moved you've been by Philadelphia sports?
I was at the Super Bowl in 2018 when they beat the Patriots. That was like hugging strangers moment. That was tears moment.
So
that was
Nick
that
Foles
was it.
then would be your number one
Of
for
course.
delivering that
Yeah.
as the backup
Yes.
quarterback, delivering that moment.
and I wanted them to keep him and trade Wentz. I was very clear. I'm on an email chain of Philadelphia diaspora Congress and reporters and such, and we constantly weigh in on sports and such. But that was I wanted them to keep Foles. I just think he had a magic with the team. It's hard to argue with Jalen Hurts, but still, I mean, like I thought he had something magic.
Wait, is it terrible? You're on a text string. Are you telling us that what you're basically on is a message board that passes for celebrity journalist, sports radio?
It's an email chain, and the rule is nobody can change the subject line. So it's this one. It's like all about meeting at some bar for a Super Bowl for a football game, like in 2016. And it's a very select. It's up to 100 now. One of our big coups was when we got Jim Gardner, which Stugotz will know who that is. Jim Gardner, who was like the Walter Cronkite of Philadelphia. When we got him on the chain, it was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But explain this to me, please. It's just you geeking out on sports radio topics. It's just a community of sports dorks who want it.
And no other topic is allowed. There are Republican congressmen on it, Democratic congressmen on it, reporters.
It's a safe space for people to talk about sports reasonably, something they can't do in politics or journalism.
100%. No politics. There are two rules. Can't change the subject line. No politics. That's it.
And what is the most flabbergasting or hottest take I would find on there if I were trying to find something that would make the Eskin family proud?
The biggest. I think right now the biggest. Everybody's really hand-wringing about the Eagles right now, who are 2-0. But if you watch the games, those are not great victories. I said it was like having a kid who misbehaves and you make it to the third week of school and he has yet to be expelled, but you're not really rejoicing. That's what it feels like. I think
how little trust, man. How little trust in a champion caliber team that you would think after 2 games they haven't won by enough.
But we're Philadelphia fans, so we're always on edge.
Right.
The role of Schwarber in the lineup for the Phillies has always been, this season, it's been hotly debated whether or not he should be there.
Stugotz loves Schwarber.
We all do, but sometimes he can be hit or miss.
What do you mean? He's all the time hit or miss. He's got more home runs than singles. Like, what do you mean? That's all he is, and he hits like 180.
It's not a good expression for baseball, I suppose.
But he is most maximum hit or miss. Like
he has 45 singles, 45 homers.
Yeah, he's a keg softball player.
Yeah,
right. Whether he should be leading off is I think the big debate.
Huh? How far does Mitch McConnell think the Phillies are going to go?
Tapper, explain this to me. How is it that someone with a great deal of power is freezing multiple times while speaking to me?
It's a mystery. It's a mystery that a number of these individuals, I think the most shocking one is Senator Feinstein, to be honest, because she is the one that cognitively seems truly the most impaired. But I have to say, having been in this town for decades now, it really is remarkable. It's not a lot of them, but there are a number of members of Congress who are, they age into death while in office, and it's kind of hidden from everybody as much as possible for a number of reasons. One, often they're on their like 3rd or 4th wife, and that individual doesn't want to give up the power she has arrived upon, and neither did the chiefs of staff. If the governor is from a different party, they don't want to give up the seat. It's just a mess. It's ugly to see. I've been seeing it since I came here in the 90s, and Strom Thurmond was jumping all over the place, grabbing people with his big claw, his big talon.
Jake, don't you feel like you're just losing all the time? It doesn't mean that your fight is not righteous. But given how brazen and corrupt and contaminated all of this has gotten, that the power grabs are that overt and that corruption is that rampant, that right now what you're seeing in America is a shamelessness you've never seen. Don't you feel like you're always losing?
I think it is. I think no, but I do think there is something to what you're saying in the sense that if the best defense that Democrats can come up for the Hunter Biden situation is, well, sure, it looks awful, and he shouldn't have been making millions of dollars off his dad's name for jobs he wasn't qualified for. But that happens a lot in Washington. If that's the best defense, then why are people not trying to fix that instead of use that as a defense? It's pretty dispiriting, I think. But by the same token, it's also, I think, gratifying to point it out and challenge people to think about the status quo that way.
CNN itself is seemingly changing in voice and enduring turbulent leadership. I'm not asking you to speak ill of your boss. I am asking you to walk me through what you've seen happen at CNN over the last, 5 years, where you see CNN news contaminated by content and editorial decisions that are being made by people who don't necessarily care about objective or straightforward news.
Well, I think that we have a great new boss, Mark Thompson, who used to be at the New York Times and the BBC, and he's just taken over, and he seems to be a real professional. And one of the things beyond the challenge of editorial and guiding a news organization through the situation we're in the country right now, where so many people are just siloing themselves off with news organizations that have opinions that they agree with and just trying to keep away from objective news, is the business idea of news, the tectonics that are shifting underneath our feet. You see it when Charter and Disney get into a big fight, and people talk about the cable business not being profitable, and James Corden retires and CBS doesn't even replace him. Like all those things that are happening that someday we'll be able to look back and say, well, that was the sign of these things changing. The writer's strike is part of it, the streamers. So hopefully Mark Thompson will be part of getting us to the other side. I think there will always be a role for live, objective cable news. I do think that, Donald Trump is a disruptor. And I think that, sometimes that's for the good and sometimes it's for the bad. And one of the things that was for the bad is that during his presidency, he made facts and truth into partisan debate. If you told the truth about him, you were biased, whether you were a Republican or a Democrat. He still attacks Fox. If Fox is saying something nice about Ron DeSantis, he attacks Fox as fake news. So his doing that, I think, disrupted a lot of news organizations. And, Fox having to pay that huge settlement, $787.5 million to Dominion, is an example of that. They got so wrapped up in being allegiant to the lies that Trump was telling that they didn't remember that you're not allowed to do that if you're defaming someone. So I think that, during that period, every news organization got knocked off their equilibrium a little bit. And I think that CNN was no exception. And I think, everybody needed to recalibrate a little. And I think that we're in a good place right now. That's my basic take.
I have two final questions for you here, and I should remind the audience, I admire him for a lot of different reasons. One of them is in his spare time, he just writes books. Books are hard to write.
And he did. This is a novel that I wrote called All the Demons Are Here.
We will get to that in a moment with you, but I wanted to ask you before we talked about that, if that was a puppet over your right shoulder.
Oh, it's a Muppet. Yeah, look.
Okay.
Nice.
Looks like Bert.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
No, it's supposed to be me.
It's supposed to be you. Okay.
You sell the book, maybe?
Somebody on Twitter. On Twitter made it.
Would you use him to sell the book right now, please?
Yes.
All the demons are here. Jake Tapper is here as a ventriloquist with his Muppet of some sort. Go ahead and sell your book. Why should people read this?
It is a great, thrilling novel, and
I need you to hide your mouth a little bit better than
Right.
that.
That's a younger Jake
I'm not
Tapper,
good at
though.
this.
I mean,
I'm not good at this.
Okay, do it the best you can. I'm sorry to make you a ventriloquist instead of a professional journalist. Now you're quitting entirely. You refuse to be made a fool of.
I tried to do it as professionally as I could. And you got
Never
greedy.
enough for Dan.
Never
man.
enough.
You got greedy.
Okay, I'm sorry. All the demons are here. Please tell the people why they should be reading your book.
It's just a fun thriller. It takes place in 1977. There are two main characters. One is Ike. He's an AWOL Marine, and he finds himself on the pit crew of Evel Knievel. So that's in Montana. And Evel Knievel in this book runs for president. And I have I played that out as one might. There was actually an Evel Knievel presidential run as a stunt in 1972, but this I take it a little further in 1977. And that story kind of explores the idea of why people like Evel Knievel have followers, why that kind of American archetype, the salesman, the showman, gets followers. Because as you know, he wasn't a particularly gifted motorcyclist. He just had a lot of bravado, and he was willing to do things that others weren't.
All right, Tony is shocked by this. Put this on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Did you know that Evel Knievel was not a particularly gifted motorcyclist?
It's outrageous.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Outrageous what you say. Blasphemer.
And then the other character is his sister Lucy, and she joins a new tabloid in Washington D.C. and she's tracking down a serial killer. And the new owner of the newspaper is based on Rupert Murdoch. And so that story gets into, it's not just a whodunit, but also looks into why we have this kind of tabloid journalism in our lives today, which started really in 1977 because that was the summer of Sam. That's when the New York Post and Murdoch really exploded in American pop culture.
Look at me, Lucy.
He is excellent at what he does. All the Demons Are Here is the new book. Last thing as you leave here for the day, and thank you again for making time for us. The most trusted news person right now is blank. You come from an ancient time of distinguished anchormen, used to be the most important voice in news. It is really fractured right now. So the most trusted person in news right now is blank.
Well, I mean, it's egocentric for me to say me, but I really hoped that people feel that way about me because I really try to earn their trust every day. I mean, I could say Anderson, I could say Wolf, I could say Aaron, I could say Dana, I could say any number of the colleagues with whom I work, and I would mean it about them. But I'd be a fool not to say me.
Yep, you or Schefter.
See you later. Thank you, Jake. Good talking to you.
Thanks, guys. Always good to talk.
See you, Jake.